tonight on First at 9 this Sunday, the 1st of June 2025. A fresh start. Official term of 161 local government bodies begins tomorrow, marking a new chapter in grassroots governance. Remaining 178 councils with no clear victor to elect chairpersons over the coming weeks. Toward a new alliance, Sri Lanka should take tangible steps to join BRICS, says the Russian ambassador, urging practical engagement to deepen global partnerships. Dengue alert. Health authorities sound the alarm over a sharp rise in dengue cases among children, fueled by recent weather patterns. Urgent calls made to eliminate mosquito breeding sites to curb the outbreak. Tourism on track. Sri Lanka welcomes over 120,000 tourists in May alone, pushing the total number of tourist arrivals past 1,017,000 by the month's end.
Cinek Campus Open Day. May masa 3 වෙනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට Cinek Campus පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. In your top story this evening, the official term of the local government institutions is set to commence tomorrow. Accordingly, 161 local government councils in which a political party or independent group has secured a majority may proceed with their formation as scheduled. In contrast, the formation of councils in the remaining institutions where no party has secured an outright majority will be determined during meetings convened tomorrow under the leadership of the respective local government commissioners. The Election Commission, through a Gazette notification yesterday, formally announced the names of both elected and nominated members of 339 local government bodies based on the results of the local government elections held on May 6th. While political parties or independent groups have secured a majority in 161 local government bodies, no single party or group has won an outright majority in the remaining 178. Accordingly, the Election Commission has published in the Gazette the names of the heads of institutions nominated by the respective political parties or independent groups in cases where there are no disputes. Per the Gazette notification issued by the Minister of Public Administration, Provincial Councils and Local Government on the 17th of February, the official term of the local government institutions will commence tomorrow. In case where no party or group has achieved a 50% majority, the selection of the chairperson and deputy chairperson will be determined at meetings presided over by the respective local government commissioner tomorrow.
We hope
that the term of the remaining 178 local government institutions will commence either next week or the week after. It is imperative that the members of such institutions, where no single party or group holds a clear majority, be informed of the election process of chairpersons and deputy chairpersons at least a week before. Additionally, it is crucial to ensure a minimum quorum of 50% within these institutions. Failure to meet these requirement may lead to disputes during the election of chairpersons and vice chairpersons. Meanwhile, a fierce competition is unfolding concerning the establishment of power in the Colombo Municipal Council. Amidst this tense environment, candidates representing independent group number 4 who contested the Colombo Municipal Council held a press conference yesterday, during which they alleged that the ruling National People's Power has secured the 2 seats won by the independent group through the granting of undue favours and privileges. We secured 2 seats in the Colombo Municipal Council during the local government elections. Subsequently, a unilateral decision was made to nominate the party's chairman and vice chairman in those council seats. This decision was met with significant opposition, with over 60 individuals expressing dissent, while only around 40 supported it. However, the following day, those individuals aligned themselves with the NPP, citing support for the government's agenda. There are ongoing speculations that the NPP granted various favours to them, and we have reasons to believe that their decision to join the NPP may have been primarily influenced by these undue favours.
With that, here's a look at thoughts shared in the political arena regarding the establishment of power in local authorities.
කොළඹ නගර සභාවේ විපක්ෂීය කාණ්ඩායම් සියල්ලම එක්කවිලා මේ සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ නගරාධිපතිවරයෙක් පත් වෙනවා.
ස්වාධීන කණ්ඩායමක් කීයත් අපි දැක්ක මේ රජයට සහාය දෙනවා කියලා කියනවා.
ස්වාධීන කාණ්ඩායම එකක් දෙකක් එහාට යන ඉක්කොරස් අපිට එනවා.
සුම්බුන් එකතු කරගෙන පළාත්
It is not feasible to establish control over local government institutions with the backing of just a few individuals. There are at least 7 or 8 opposition parties within each council. It is impossible to grant chairman and deputy chairman positions to those mini parties of the opposition. Attempting to take control of local authorities in this manner is not a viable strategy. The actions of the opposition are therefore futile.
විපක්ෂයේ මේ කරන දේ නිෂ්ඵල දෙයක්.
අපි පොදුවේ විපක්ෂයේ හැටියට විපක්ෂයේ පක්ෂ සියල්ලම පහේ පොදු එකඟතාවයක් ඇති කරගෙන තිබෙනවා. හැකි සෑම අවස්ථාවකම එක් එක් පක්ෂවලට ඒවායේ පක්ෂවල ප්‍රතිපත්තිවලට සහ අනන්‍යතාවයන් වලට හානියක් නොවන පරිදි ඒ පළාතේ ඒ සභාවේ ඒ සභිකයන්ගේ අදහස් සලකලා සභාපතිවරු සහ උපසභාපතිවරු පත් කරගන්න ප්‍රතිපත්තිම එකඟතාවයක් තියෙනවා.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට මහාණ්ඩුවක් දීලා කරගන්න බැරි එක.
How can those who are unable to govern at the national level be expected to manage local councils effectively? We intend to nominate a dynamic young leader, someone with over 20 years of service in the Colombo Municipal Council, who will be an unbeatable candidate.
හොඳ අධ්‍යක්ීම් තිබෙන තරුණ කෙනෙක් අපි මේ තරඟයට ඉදිරිපත් කරමු.
Leader of the Sarva Jana Balaya parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira says his party will not make short-term political decisions to secure control of local government councils, as such moves could negatively impact future elections. He made these remarks while participating in a meeting of the Sarva Jana Balaya's local government representatives in Colombo today.
The swearing-in ceremony for the newly elected local government councillors representing the Sarva Jana Balaya was held in Colombo this morning under the patronage of party leader, parliamentarian Dilith Jayavira. Senior party leaders and organisers were also in attendance.
By next week, some of you could find yourselves in the opposition or on the ruling side in certain councils. Let's make the best decision for each council through open discussions. Under the leadership of Dilith Jayavira, we have created a promising path to move forward.
This political movement requires strict discipline. Many political initiatives failed in the past due to a lack of it. Today, there are hardly any parties people can proudly associate with. Most remain silent when asked about their party or its leader. Our party is different. It is built on a clear vision and is working toward long-term goals. We cannot afford to make short-term decisions for immediate political gain. We refuse to be pawns in such tactics, as they could damage our credibility in future elections. We are strategically working to establish power in 3 councils. That is a separate matter. However, we will not pursue alliances in councils where we lack majority control. Through our Sarva Jana committees, we will demonstrate how our strategic plans can be implemented effectively and practically. Within the next 4 years, we must deliver results that prove our policies are not just promises, but practical strategies that improve public well-being and bring happiness to the people.
The event also featured the official presentation of appointment letters to the newly elected members.
සිනෙක් කැම්පස් ඕපන් ඩේ මැයි මස 3 වැනි දින උදෑසන 9 සිට සිනෙක් කැම්පස් පරිශ්‍රයේදී.
Russian ambassador to Sri Lanka Levan Zagarian encourages Sri Lanka to take practical steps to secure membership of BRICS if it is truly interested in joining the alliance. Delivering a guest lecture at the Bandaranaike Centre for International Studies, the ambassador went on to say that Russia expects to be more active in Sri Lanka following the lifting of international sanctions. Ambassador Zagarian also expressed pleasure that Sri Lanka is continuing defence cooperation with Russia, adding that Russia is opposed to the global domination of any nation and only wishes to have equal relations with all countries.
Russian ambassador to Sri Lanka Levan Zagarian yesterday delivered a guest lecture at the Bandaranaike Centre for International Studies themed Use of Force in International Law, a Russian Perspective.
Right now, we don't have any big projects with Sri Lanka. We were ready to start negotiations to implement our payment card system, MIR, for Russian tourists who are coming here, because all our cards are blocked. In Iran, Russian tourists who are traveling to Iran, they can use these cards. Here it's impossible, and not only here, but in many other countries, because those countries who will implement it, they will subject it to secondary sanctions. Russia is one of the most important consumers of Ceylon tea. Russian tourists are coming here. Just now, we have no direct flights between Russia Russia and Sri Lanka. They will resume in the beginning of October. I hope we will be able to be more active here on Sri Lankan market after lifting of sanctions.
When will Sri Lanka join the BRICS?
First of all, a country which wishes to be a part of BRICS must get the status of dialogue partner, an observer and so on. For membership and for other steps, you should get consensus of other member states, not only Russia. Russia, China, other countries, they support Sri Lanka, but also there is necessary to make necessary steps from your side. If you are interested, are you interested? I don't feel it. Please make some practical steps. But now you should speak with the current chair, which is Brazil. Anyway, it's up to your government to decide. And we also expect your country to be more active in terms of Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
What are the future avenues that we have as Sri Lankans to develop Sri Lankan's military industry in collaboration with Russia?
We had many Russian military delegations visiting Sri Lanka, and Sri Lankan delegation was recently in Moscow. Commander of Aviation, Marshal Edira Singhe, just a few days ago, he was in Moscow, participated in this conference of security advisors, and we have very good contacts. For example, I several times met with Defense Secretary Marshal Tuyakonta. We have very good contacts, and we are very optimistic. Russian ships who are just traveling from Vladivostok to the Black Sea, sometimes they stop here in Colombo, they have meetings, and we will continue. We are very happy that the Sri Lankan government is strong enough to continue military cooperation with the Russian Federation, because we see that military delegations from other countries are coming here, from the USA, from Australia. It's okay. You as a sovereign country, you can have good relations with all foreign countries in all fields, just military, economic, and so on. That's why we highly appreciate it.
Why has Russia lost its dominance within the global outlook at present? Will you all be planning on taking any measures to regain that dominance that you all had in the past?
We don't want to be dominant in power. Never. We want to have equal relations, good relations with all countries, small, big, rich, poor. We are all equal. We are against any domination of any country in the world, including the United States of America. No domination, only equal cooperation with mutual respect.
Defense analyst Asif Ford emphasizes that there is a strategic shift in the Kashmir conflict and warns that the pan-Islamist message of ISIS appeals to vulnerable youth. Speaking at a recent discussion in Colombo, Ford further added that the shift indicates a risk of homegrown and isolated attacks that could spread beyond the region across the rest of South Asia. Speaking at the same event, Director of the Center for Law and Security Studies, Nilantan Nirudan, highlighted that South Asian nations such as Sri Lanka no longer have the opportunity to mediate between India and Pakistan, adding that SAARC is effectively defunct and is unlikely to return.
Rising Indo-Pakistan tensions and their implications on South Asia, a Sri Lankan perspective, a discussion organised by the Centre for Law and Security Studies was recently held in Colombo.
The recent incident in Pahalgam signifies a tragic loss of life. Going beyond that, we can see that there is a strategic shift in the conflict in Kashmir. When you take a look at the militancy in Kashmir, there are over a dozen militant groups that have been operating over the years. These groups consistently manage to evolve. They manage to remain resilient despite loss of territory, loss of leaders. We cannot deny the fact that the ISIS narrative of building a pan-Islamist caliphate resonates amongst the vulnerable youth in Kashmir, those who are vulnerable to radicalization. Then we will see an increase in homegrown terrorism and lone wolf type attacks. And some of these attacks is not centered only in India or Pakistan. It will be beyond these borders. There will be cooperation within regional terrorist groups to conduct combined operations. And there will be also the use of hybrid warfare and hybrid terrorism.
Every country in this region, the Sri Lankan strategic experts, Nepali experts, Maldivian experts, everybody was like, we should get in and we should try mediating between India and Pakistan. The idea that either India or Pakistan would want bankrupt dots on the map to be mediators between them, I mean, I find it quite laughable. I would say perhaps in the 70s we had some kind of diplomatic cloud where we could have played some meaningful role. In 2025, it's a very different world. SAARC is not coming back. SAARC is dead. It's a corpse.
Sri Lanka was set to face a tariff of 44%. There's obviously going to be a huge impact on Sri Lanka. 25% of Sri Lanka's exports and about 40% of Sri Lanka's apparel exports go to the US. So one of the workarounds that were being explored, whether Sri Lanka could actually reroute its exports to the US via a country like India, which would face lower tariffs. And if there was an escalation of the situation in India and Pakistan, this would not be possible. And also this could be a completely moot point if Donald Trump decides to rescind his tariff policy, in which case none of this would matter anyway.
A panel discussion on the topic was also held.
The evolving nature of extremism, the spread of terrorism, and Pakistan's role here. I'd like to ask you about the impact of the situation on Sri Lanka. How do you think Sri Lanka can engage in not just the regional intelligence agencies also safeguarding our borders with the growing impact of extremist elements?
The current form of Islamist or transnational terrorism does not operate within a particular center of gravity. If you look at the online space, that is where groups such as ISIS gain their strength from. Or if you look at inspired networks that are inspired by ISIS ideology, where they pledge allegiance and become either inspired network or a particular cell for that particular group. So even if you look at the Sri Lankan context, we saw how Zaharan and his group, basically how it transitioned from its local roots by adopting a transnational ideology.
If Sri Lanka were to lean more towards either India or Pakistan now, given our tendency to have more benefit from India's economic growth, with US tariffs now, we're facing multiple challenges internationally with supply chains disrupted and more wars in the world implicating a small state as Sri Lanka. How do you think we must really restore our defense alliances?
Over the last 6 or 7 years, we've stopped touting that as well because of other international pressures. Our only hope is to hope for the generosity of the larger states and hope that they see something of value in us, which we can then fulfill.
Our industries, where should we look to, if not for the region?
There's very little we can do in terms of impacting on global wars or global tensions, but what we can do as a country is really fix our side of things. Now, if you take the Liberation Day tariffs, we are looking at it in a completely reactionary manner. Several decades, our export basket has remained pretty much the same. We still export the same things to the same places. So what we can do is put our ducks in a row. Obviously, there's very little we can do to influence. We can fix our side of things. We have better reserves, better buffers to actually face these kinds of global shocks.
As Sri Lanka continues to battle extreme weather, more property damages and power outages were reported from several areas. The Department of Meteorology forecasts rains and strong winds to continue tomorrow in several provinces. Meanwhile, landslide warnings have been issued for several areas, including Galle, Kandy, Kegol, Nuwara and Ratnapura.
During the last few days, Sri Lanka experienced the extreme effects of the southwestern monsoon. People in several areas across the country were severely affected with property damages and power outages caused by fallen trees, strong winds and torrential rains. The effects of the adverse weather also continued yesterday. In the meantime, 2 fishermen who had gone missing in the evening of May 28th were rescued today and brought to land on a multi-day trawler. The Deputy Director of the Disaster Management Centre, Pradeep Kodipilli, commented on the damage caused by the adverse weather.
14 districts were affected and 10,270 people been affected with that particular situations and 18 people injured. 2,710 houses been partially damaged with that particular situation. 3 evacuation centers been set up in Nuwara district and house damages were reported. People advised to trim the trees around their particular houses and all. The landslide warning already been issued in several districts, especially in Galle, Kandy, Kegol, Nuwara and Ratnapura. People need to be well aware of.
Spokesperson for the Ceylon Electricity Board, Dhammika Wimalaratne, commented on the power outages that were reported across the country and the CEB's restoration efforts.
As of 1 p.m. today, there have been 68,248 breakdowns that have been reported, and out of which 36,915 have been restored. That is about 54%. The number of breakdowns that are reported has decreased. It will decrease gradually. So we think that within the next day or two, we will be able to restore all other breakdowns as well. And the area which gives the maximum number of breakdowns is from Kundasali area, area in the central province, 3,992 breakdowns. That is the highest number of breakdowns reported in an area.
In its latest report, the Department of Meteorology forecast that showers are expected at times over the next 24 hours in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Matara districts. Fairly strong winds of about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over the western slopes of the Central Hills and in the northern, north central and northwestern provinces and in the Hambantota and Trincomalee districts.
With the rapid spread of dengue, chikungunya and influenza, health authorities report a sharp rise in the number of children affected by these viral infections. They emphasize the importance of wearing face masks to help reduce transmission. Individuals experiencing symptoms are strongly advised to seek medical attention without delay.
Amid ongoing heavy rains, there has been a sharp rise in both dengue and chikungunya cases, with over 23,300 dengue infections reported so far this year. Health officials have also noted a steady increase in chikungunya cases since 2009. Dr. Deepal Pereira, a pediatrician at Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Colombo, reports a growing number of dengue and chikungunya infections among children, raising concerns about the impact of these mosquito-borne diseases on the young population.
We saw a significant increase in the number of influenza, dengue and chikungunya infections among children. If the population of mosquitoes continue to increase, a surge in the number of dengue and chikungunya may be observed. If symptoms of dengue are observed, avoid red-colored food, take the appropriate dosage of paracetamol to control fever and wet the patient's skin with mildly hot water to lower body temperature. If fever persists over 3 days, a blood test is recommended and the patient must be admitted to the hospital if the platelet count is lower than 150. When infected with chikungunya, the patient may experience strong body and muscle pain for a prolonged amount of time. Therefore, be cautious to keep the environment clean to prevent mosquito breeding. We recommend wearing a mask to prevent from being infected with influenza and the new COVID variant.
The Public Health Inspectors Union states that technical issues have become a problem in preventing chikungunya in such a context.
The epidemiology unit informed hospitals to provide a report of the patients a few days ago. However, this had not taken place in an appropriate manner. This has made it difficult for us to distinguish and discover how and where the disease is spreading across the country. However, we are taking necessary action to limit the further spread of this virus.
Sri Lanka has attracted 1,017,004 tourists as of the 28th of May this year, as it continues towards the target of securing 3 million tourist arrivals for the year. This figure includes the 120,120 tourist arrivals recorded between the 1st and 28th of May this year. According to data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, the highest number of tourist arrivals for the month of May was recorded on the 1st of May with 6,311. India continues to be Sri Lanka's top source market with 42,899 tourists visiting the country, while the United Kingdom trails in second with 8,382 British tourists visiting the country between the 1st and 28th of May. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also recorded from China, Germany, Bangladesh and Australia. Welcome back. You're once again joining First at 9 on Other Derana 24. Now, Minister of Industries and Entrepreneurship Development Sunil Handunethi emphasized during a press conference today that no decision has been made to close the Sevanagala sugar factory. He noted that a group identifying themselves as farmers had recently held a press conference claiming there was a risk of the factory's closure. The minister asserted that these claims were driven by political interests rather than facts.
At a press conference held on May 29th, sugarcane farmers and representatives of farmers' organizations claimed that the Sevanagala sugar factory, operated by Lanka Sugar Company, has suspended the acceptance of their sugarcane harvest. They stated that the factory's machinery and equipment have been non-operational since May 21st, resulting in significant financial losses. In response, the minister in charge of the subject spoke at a press conference today, alleging that the narrative being circulated is politically motivated. The first news to circulate claimed that 17,200 metric tons of sugar were stuck, being unable to sell in Sevanagala. However, this was not the reality. The sugar stock in question was ready to be dispatched to the market and was actually stored in Palavatta. This misleading information was spread by the former CEO of Lanka Sugar Company. Based on that, a group identifying themselves as sugarcane farmers have now begun a protest. Members of both the SJB and SLPP were present at the press conference supporting this protest, clearly using it for political gain. Alongside this, a campaign has also been launched to reinstate the former CEO Wajira Kumaratunga. However, appointments to such positions cannot and will not be made based on external pressure or influence. We will not allow it. I want to clearly state that there is no decision to shut down Lanka Sugar Company in Sevanagala. It will not be closed and we will not allow the sugar industry to collapse. During the same briefing, the minister announced that going forward, locally produced brown sugar will be released to the market at a price of 236 per kilogram. Going forward, the price of sugar will be calculated by adding 18% VAT to the base price of 200 rupees. Accordingly, the retail price of 1 kilogram of sugar produced by the 3 local sugar companies will approximately be 236 rupees.
The National Tax Week declared by the government to increase awareness on taxation and also to widen the tax base in the country will begin tomorrow. President Anura Dissanayake will officially inaugurate the campaign at the Presidential Secretariat. Deputy Commissioner General of the Inland Revenue Department, PKS Shanta, announced that from June 2nd to 7th, IRD officials will conduct a nationwide awareness drive. The focus will be on educating the public about the importance of timely tax payments and guiding them on how to obtain a taxpayer identification number. In line with a previous government directive, a TIN is now mandatory for registering a motor vehicle under an individual's name and for opening certain types of bank accounts. To date, over 10 million individuals have registered for their TINs, which can be verified via the official IRD website. The Chinese delegation, led by China's Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao, who is currently visiting Sri Lanka, paid a courtesy call on Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya to discuss economic collaboration and trade relations between the two nations. Minister Wentao and his delegation are in Sri Lanka to participate in the Sri Lanka-China Trade and Investment Forum. During the meeting, discussions focused on expanding trade and investment opportunities between the two countries. In a separate meeting, the Prime Minister welcomed the European Parliamentary delegation currently visiting Sri Lanka. The discussion centered on mutual interests, cooperation in governance and support for Sri Lanka's development and democratic transition. According to the Prime Minister's office, the meeting also served as an opportunity to further enhance dialogue between Sri Lanka and the European Union. And that's all the news for tonight from First at 9. For the latest developments around the clock, stay in touch with Ada Derana, the Sri Lankan news brand of international excellence. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.